share some ideas for how to make this year a little bit healthier than last
When
year.
I find out what it is.
And I don't think that there's gonna be a lot of new ideas, not every single one of these is gonna click with you, that's not my intent. It's more of if you can find one little new thing that actually sounds doable this year, one little new way of thinking of things, that's the way to make permanent change in your life. Make one little change at a time, and in a couple of years, things are a lot better, like a lot healthier, happier, more enjoyable. So the basics of what I'll be talking about today include eating, exercising, sleeping, and how you think about your life. Basics of mental health too. One of the things that I've been recently doing is trying to be better about planning my meals. I find that if I can think about what I'm gonna eat the next day, it helps me to make healthier choices. It's all planned out. And I not only have an idea of what I'm going to eat the next day, but also try to make sure that I don't need snacks. And make sure that just in case something falls through and I'm much busier than I thought I would be, and I'm later to getting to my meal, I have a backup plan. My backup plan happens to be a bag of cashews in my car, because those are healthy and delicious and filling, and a good once in a while treat.
That's what I use.
And it's better than stopping for fast food, for sure, if I'm running a little bit late and I'm just starving. There's lots of different diets out there and lots of different ways that people say is the healthiest way to eat. But I think everyone agrees that vegetables are the way to go. So I always emphasize trying to find a way to eat a vegetable with every single meal. Which some people say, oh, how can you possibly eat vegetables for breakfast? My secret is that I like to eat some vegetables with eggs in the morning, an egg and some sprouts, or I also like to eat asparagus, a really big treat for breakfast. Or some people will even put savory things on their oatmeal. I think oatmeal's delicious, and sometimes I'll do sweet with a little bit of sugar, raisins, or nuts. And sometimes I'll do more of a savory, maybe with a little bit of a hot sauce, or again with some sprouts or spinach, or even an egg on top of oatmeal if I'm really gonna need a filling breakfast for the day. And eating vegetables at lunch and dinner is kind of more typical. It seems like all of us, especially here in Colorado with the dryness and the altitude, need to drink more water. I find that my goal is about half of my weight converted to ounces, switched to ounces is what my goal is for drinking water every day. It's a good amount, it's not excessive, but it's definitely a challenge. What I found was really useful for actually drinking that much water is always having a big cup of water with me in the car. I had it at work and had it at home, but I just was missing out on those times in the car when I could mindlessly drink water while driving along, and that was such a great way to add up the number of ounces that I was getting. So there's little tricks like that. Some people really like to have a giant water bottle that they just have to drink one of every day, and then they get an arm workout throughout the day too. And other people have other ways that they find works best for them. And in case water just sounds kind of gross to you, because it depends on where you're getting your water. I have amazing well water at home that's so delicious, but if I travel and have water somewhere else, it's really hard for me to drink some of that water. But adding a squeeze of lemon, or a squeeze of other fruit too, adding a couple berries so they release just a little bit of their flavor into the water, really makes it more palatable, even if it's not tasting great otherwise. And again, another way to make sure you're eating those vegetables is to think more about what order you eat your food in. Trying to eat the vegetables before you eat your starches, your potatoes, your rice, your bread. Making sure you eat your vegetables before you get that roll. Or changing, using the cheese or butter or oils in your meal that are so delicious, and use that instead of on a roll or instead of on rice, put that on your vegetables to help those be more delicious and help you to enjoy those more. I think it's a bit of an epidemic in America that we've kind of gotten used to overeating. I think a lot of my peers have a lot of trouble with that. Having an idea that the restaurant food with the appetizer and the meal and the dessert is a normal meal. Man, the restaurants have that really wrong. And we've adapted that as being normal, and that's not good for us. So being able to change what a normal meal looks like is drastically different than that. To stay at a healthy weight is gonna look entirely different than what a restaurant serves you. And so paying attention more to those inner satiety, inner voices from your stomach saying you're full is a lost art, I think. And sometimes people eating just until they're 80% full and not 100% full is one way for them to adapt to that again. If they eat till they're 100% full, then a couple minutes later, they're gonna feel even more full because the food that they were just eating is gonna get to their stomach and tell them just how full they are. But getting to 80% is usually enough to keep you until your next meal and help you to eat a more healthy amount. Some people are on the low salt diets, and there's plenty of other ways to get flavor in your food, whether that's vinegar, or adding a little bit of lemon or lime zest or juice, or things like garlic powder, onion powder. Those are some of my favorite ways to add some flavor to food. And I hear a lot that people just don't like certain vegetables, and that's fine as long as you have other vegetables that you enjoy. But there's new ways of cooking them. I never knew that you could broil like broccoli or asparagus either on the grill or under your broiler, so it turns just a little bit brown or black. I think that tastes amazing, and that's something new that I discovered in this last year that's really helped me to expand my horizons of what vegetables I really, really like to eat. Another way to think about your hunger and how full you should eat until is a hunger scale where 0 is kind of not hungry, not full. Positive 10 would be the most full you can possibly imagine, and negative 10 would be absolutely starving, really, really hungry, you could eat anything. And trying to stay between a -4 and a +4. And trying to figure out your meals from one day to the next. Okay, I ate this for breakfast, and by lunch I was starving, so I need to eat a more filling breakfast. And then at lunch, I'll eat just until I'm +4, and that seems to carry me over until dinner pretty well. And when you're more conscious of that, sometimes people will even write down, okay, this is what I'm having for lunch, and I'm at a -3, okay. And then they can compare from one day to the next. What kind of foods made them feel comfortably full without getting into that +8, +10 range. And again, with our portion sizes, we've gotten used to plates this big. And I know I can't eat a plate that big 3 times a day. I will not look the way I do if I eat that much. So using a smaller plate helps me to remember that's how much I actually need from day to day. Especially on holidays when you're tempted to get seconds, thirds, fourths of your most delicious foods. Waiting a little bit of time between those servings is a good idea to really let your stomach settle and you to think about, am I really needing that extra serving, or did I get enough that first time? Putting your fork down between bites is a nice little cue that works for some people to remind them to sit and chew and enjoy their food, because enjoying your food is so important. And then picking it up and having another bite if you're still hungry, but you don't have to finish what's on your plate. And some people find that if they think about how many times they chew each bite, that helps them to get every bit of flavor out of it, really enjoy it, and process it before they take another bite, and helps them to slow down a little bit of eating. I think sometimes we find that all our hobbies revolve around food. I know people that watch all the food shows on Netflix all the time, and the competitions and the people being rated on their cooking, and then they read their emails that have all the recent reviews from all the different amazing restaurants that are out there. And then the only time they go out with friends or out with their spouse is to restaurants or bars. And that means all their hobbies are really revolving around food. How can you eat healthily if everything fun in your life revolves around food? So I think that it's important to have other hobbies and try to be conscientious about finding other things that you enjoy doing, because there's a lot more to life than food. Food is very fun, but so is hiking, so is the arts, so is going and seeing music concerts. There's just so many other things that you can do on dates with friends and spend your time on and spend your learning on, things to learn about, than food. And it's easy to forget about that. Moving on to being active, if I had to choose for my patients whether they had the perfect number on the scale or whether they stayed active at least a little bit every day, by far and away the healthiest thing that I would choose for them would be to be active in some way every day. It has amazing effects on your brain, on your body, on your longevity, and there's so many great options out there. I know that the Y have fun silver sneakers classes that are really enjoyable. There's always walking and dancing. Tai Chi has been popular for a while, and I spelled it funny, sorry about that. Yoga. I know I am always finding new classes on YouTube that I enjoy. Sometimes they're really strenuous and really push me to my limit, and then sometimes they're just relaxing to help me get moving a little bit that day. And incorporating that with your family too. There's lots of neat video games. If your kids or grandkids are hooked on video games, there's Wii games that are involved that have a lot to do with activity. Or to go on a walk or a hike together, see the outdoors. And it's so easy in our own minds to be down on ourselves for not doing enough. And there's no point in that. If you went and you just went on a 2-minute walk, that is really good. That is so much better than a not walk. So watching yourself talk about what you are telling yourself when you're doing even just a little bit of good things is important to be able to continue doing those good things. If every time you go out and get some exercise, you're thinking, it wasn't enough, that wasn't good enough, I should have pushed myself harder, you're not gonna be doing that at all anymore. So it's much better to be encouraging on yourself, to be thinking about all the things that did go well about that walk. That you went out even though the weather wasn't great, even though you weren't feeling that great, you went out and did it. And that is so much better than nothing. Sometimes people will keep a calendar with activity or give themselves a gold star every time they're active, or a sticker of other kinds every time that they eat well that day. And that's a great way to track it. There's lots of apps for devices as well that do similar things and give you a little celebration of confetti every time you achieve your goals. And although it seems a little bit silly to get a gold star every day, there's also something to it. There's a reason it works for kindergartners. It really does feel good to look at that chart from across the room and say, look at all those gold stars. I've been doing really well. Or if you're a big person into spreadsheets, keeping a spreadsheet of how many days a week did I exercise this week, and tracking it, making charts for yourself. Some people really like doing that, Microsoft Excel. And coming back to that mental piece, hobbies are not only good for keeping you away from food, but they're also really stimulating for your brain, and that's important. Making sure that the things that you do every single day are what you want to be doing every single day. Sometimes we fall into patterns of things that are not actually what we would have chosen if we thought about them consciously. So making a list. What do I do every single day, no matter what? Is it a lot of sitting around and reading things that you don't really care about? Do you wish that you were doing something different? Reflecting on that in January is a perfect time to be doing that, and think of what you wish you were doing with your time instead. I know that mindfulness is kind of a weird phrase. It kind of sounds a little, who do you do, I don't know. But what it really means is the idea of living in this moment. Me not sitting here thinking, I had that phone conversation with that guy yesterday. He called me out. He thought he knew what I needed with my life. He thought he could bill me for it. He thought he had all the answers, and that really drives me crazy. I can't believe he called me and said all that. But that doesn't help me to be sitting here thinking about the best thing I could have said to him at the time. And instead, I can be enjoying where I am right in this minute and appreciating the beautiful environment that I'm in, the people that I'm sharing this moment with, the fact that I have a really good cup of coffee right there. And watching where my mind is so helpful from moment to moment. It doesn't help me to be dwelling on the past. It doesn't help me to be worrying about the future. And that's the idea behind mindfulness, is trying to concentrate on this moment and enjoying it. There's lots of things that we can do to improve our sleep, which really impacts how we feel from day to day. These are called sleep hygiene, is what the medical community calls them. They're pretty common, you've probably heard of them before, but I thought I'd mention them in case there's things that have fallen away. The idea behind your devices and computers and TVs is that there's a certain wavelength of blue light that gets into your brain through your eyes and tells you it's time to be awake. So that's why some people wear those red sunglasses. I don't know if you've heard of those. And some people put different settings on their phone so that that blue light gets taken away in the evening hours. And a way to do the opposite and take advantage of blue light is to go out between about 10 and 2 during the day, and if it's a clear day, staring up at the sky. And that is the exact shade of blue light that's going into your brain and telling it it's time to be awake. So in about 8 hours, it's time to go to sleep. And that's the problem. If you're looking at that kind of spectrum of blue light in the evening, it's saying, it's time to be awake. You can go to sleep in 8 hours. That's no good. I don't want to be asleep at 2 a.m. I want to be asleep right now. Exercise during the day can help you to sleep in the evening. And before bed, trying to avoid things that keep you awake. Large meals tend to be actually pretty stimulating. Alcohol, caffeine. Most people sleep best if the room is dark and cool and quiet, and not using the room for sitting and watching TV. Instead, keeping it just for sleeping and sex. And if you can't sleep, don't just sit there and stare at the clock and think about how much you're gonna hate tomorrow because you can't sleep right now and watch the minutes tick by. If you can't sleep, get up, do something that's a little bit relaxing, go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, and wait until you're feeling a little bit more sleepy. It's better than just sitting and tossing and turning and stressing out so much about how you're not sleeping. And there's lots of different cool apps out there for white noise, for meditation, and those can all be helpful for falling asleep as well, or just on YouTube. And you are not just made of your body and your mind, you have a soul, you have a spirit as well. And taking care of that by connecting with other people, making sure to get some social time in. I'm not naturally a very social person, but I benefit from being out among people even when I don't really feel like it. I always come away from it saying that was a good idea. Volunteering really helps you to feel like you're giving back to the community, which is so important. And again, that mindfulness, being thankful for the things around you, for that amazing cup of coffee that I'm really looking forward to drinking some more. Being outside in nature is great not only for exercise and for the sunshine and getting that blue light, but it also helps our spirit. And when it comes to setting goals that you want to change, you can keep a journal or a diary, you can track things. And it's also a good idea to follow these steps for how you can make improvements in your life. Make sure that you're not just saying, I'm going to go running for an hour every day from now on. That's not so helpful. But making it specific, okay, maybe we'll start a little bit shorter. We'll start with a nice walk for 5 minutes every day. And make sure it's measurable. Is this something that is kind of, oh, I kind of did it, but I kind of didn't. Make sure that there's something really you're trying to achieve. Make sure that it's actually doable, not running for a full hour right away. That it is actually something you care about. If someone else is giving you a hard time about some aspect of your life, it's really hard for you to care enough to change it. And that you would have a time that you want to do this. By next month, I want to be walking 5 minutes every day during after lunch or right before lunch. Something like that. That way you know when you're successful and it's something that you really care about. So those are my favorite tips that I give to my patients all the time that have things that they want to change about their lives. What about you guys? What are some things that you've done in the past that have been fruitful and helpful? Walking every day.
I went to a park.
Yes.
Yeah. There's lots of friends.
Lots of friends. Good place.
I like to write.
Oh, that's a good one. I wish more people would write. Do you like pen and paper?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I have lots of things up here that I want to put on paper.
Exactly. I wish more people would recognize that they have lots of things up there to put on paper.
Meditation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about? I get that question all the time from my patients. I want to meditate, but what do I actually do? What do you do?
We used to have Calm. If you're familiar
The
with
app?
Calm, yes.
Yes.
After exercise,
Oh, wow.
but it's been decreased and I don't think it's completely. I think they're bringing it back. But anyway, I liked it so much that I subscribed for a year.
Great.
And I was in the play yesterday and I was like, "Ah." And so
No, you weren't.
I got my phone out and I did meditation.
What a smart
I
thing to do.
pinpointed anxiety. I did all my deep breathing and I think it helped. So
You were great.
She
Thank
was the star.
Oh, the star.
Thank you.
Good word.
But I needed something to kind of bring me down a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's funny how breathing works. I mean, you just naturally start breathing fast, but you can almost kind of hack your own body by breathing, especially out longer, to tell your body, no, we're not running away from a bear. We don't need to be breathing that fast. Everything is okay. And it's almost telling instead of your brain telling your breathing to stop, it's almost like your breathing telling your brain, everything's okay.
What do you think about obsessive people?
Oh, yeah. I don't think they're happy.
You know, gotta do something 7 days a week.
I mean, it's,
Run, lift, every day.
and that can be a healthy thing if you're enjoying it and it's helping you, or it can get in the way of other things that you wanna be doing in your life. Yeah. So it's doing some thought work, some journaling, some writing down. What is really going on in my head between the thoughts of usually guilt tripping myself. Man, I haven't weightlifted today. That's not okay. I'm a bad person because of that.
Yeah.
What are you thinking in the thoughts almost between those thoughts? What is the real message in your head? Why do you have to weightlift every day to be a good person? That doesn't, I mean, not everyone feels that way, so why do you have that feeling? Is there something in your past that's made you feel that way? That's a tricky one, but that's an important one. Yes.
What do you do when you need to chill?
Oh man. I have a lot of hobbies that I really like to do. I really like to garden. I like to plan my garden. So I have computer programs at this time of year, I'll plan out where I'm gonna plant everything. I like to start plants inside, so I can always work on those too. I like to play games with my kids, board games, card games. I really like to go for walks, not on a day like today, but
No.
I like to do YouTube exercise videos or yoga videos, even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes. It really takes my mind to a different place than it's been. Those are some of my favorites.
Well, you have a lot to compare in your life too, with what you've done.
It's been a really fun life so far. I
Yes.
can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah. You'll find out tomorrow.
And I won't worry about it until then too.
Tell us about your family.
Oh, yeah, so I'm a family doctor now that I'm just a reservist in the Air Force. And I found that working for insurance just made my life miserable. So I work for my patients on a membership based, kind of like a gym. They pay me every month a little bit, and that way whenever they need to see me, I'm available for them. I don't have to take as many patients. Like a normal doctor has 3,000 to 4,000 patients that they take care of.
Wow.
I can't imagine actually knowing that many people that well. So I only have 200 patients right now. I think I'm gonna go up to 300 patients before I cut off my enrollments. And that way I can really know them and be there for them. They can email me, they can text me. If they're traveling and get a UTI, they just text me and I send a prescription out to whatever pharmacy is nearby. Cause they just don't need to be suffering like that. It's not a hard thing to treat. So that's the kind of practice that I have and I really enjoy it.
Very unique.
It's becoming more popular, and I hope it does, because it makes patients happier, doctors happier.
Yeah, I come from Maryland and we call it boutique.
Boutique.
And sometimes it's called concierge. I don't know about boutique. Typically, concierge practices are a lot more expensive than I am, and they take both insurance and the membership fee. So I try to make it even more simple than that.
Do you have bricks and mortar place?
I do. It's out on Baptist Road. There's 3 different buildings owned by Bethesda. I'm in the middle building on the 2nd floor. But I
How
do home
are
visits
things,
too.
is it becoming quite successful, your method?
I think so. It keeps spreading, thank goodness. I keep hearing about more and more doctors in the area doing it. I try to bring us all together. A couple times a year, have dinner together and share each other's stories and hear about what's working, what's not, cause there's just a lot of people that need a good doctor that they can
There's
trust.
a lot that's not working in some medical
Exactly.
areas.
Oh,
Yes.
And doctors feel that a lot,
Mhm.
they really don't like that either.
No,
Do you visit where the patient might be, or do they usually come to you?
They usually come to me. I have a couple homebound patients that really struggle with finding anyone to take care of them, so I love going out and visiting with them. I bring them flu shots or draw blood or whatever they need, even bring them their medications, just to make it that much easier on them.
So many people here have
So-
colds,
It's true.
they're coughing right next to you, and at mealtime, they're coughing.
Yeah,
What do you do?
yeah, that's
In
hard.
a place, we're like, you know, like a prison.
It's hard to get away from
You
them.
can't move.
And sometimes all you can do is take care of you. I mean, I've been in many situations where everyone was sick around me,
yeah.
and I somehow didn't get sick. So then I think, oh, what was I doing? I was exercising, I was eating right, I was drinking a lot of water, I was washing my hands for the full 30 seconds. Maybe one of those helps. That's sometimes all you can do.
You can give them a dirty look.
But like we use exercise balls
Yeah.
and bands, and they're not washed or anything.
But luckily, the germs won't get through your skin. So if you're good about washing your hands after touching those for a good 30 seconds and really scrubbing all the parts of your hand that you can, it won't get anywhere further. It won't make you sick.
I think these
That's good.
people here need to be told to remind us of washing.
That's a good thing to remember. I feel like everyone forgets it.
Because we just,
Oh, yeah.
and but it's so crowded when we have exercise. There's 25 of us.
Wow. I'm
It's
glad so many
packed.
people are doing that.
Yeah, 3 days a week.
Wonderful.
Well, it's 5 days a week, it's 5 days.
Great.
But they're so close together, you can't even do this.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, and you could always put a sticky note on your mirror, at least at home, and say, there's my reminder, I'm gonna wash my hands for a full, 2 happy birthdays.
we should maybe wearing, you know,
Masks, especially if you're
because
feeling
they're
sick.
coughing.
Yeah, maybe.
Right now,
Mm.
it's cold season.
And it was flu season a couple months ago. Oh. And I was thinking how surgeons, before they do surgery, they wash their hands 2 minutes, scrubbing, and they kind of think of each side of their finger as a square. And they scrub this finger for a while, and then this side, and then this side, and then this side. We can be more like surgeons. Did you know something?
Yes. That last question, that's supposed to be our wisdom. That comes up frequently, the dining room table,
Yeah.
where I may be eating with women particularly, who don't care anymore. If they're gaining weight, they wanna eat, but they want to eat despite comorbidities they might have. And I've always been very nutrition oriented, and I have a hard time maintaining weight, much less losing it. It just gets to me that they say that, and I have no idea how to correct it in my head or what to say to them.
And we have these meetings, and they say, they don't give us enough food. You get an ice cream scoop of mashed potatoes, and some of these people, they say, oh, but they don't fill that scoop full enough.
So what would be your tip? Because I don't know.
I mean, it's hard enough for me to motivate myself to eat. I think convincing other people is just about impossible, because eating is such a cultural part of who you are.
It's our social time.
It is,
Always.
yeah.
But they
Makes a lot
say,
of sense.
oh, I'm 90, so
So
I
who
can
cares?
eat anything I say That's gonna be heaven.
And maybe sometimes just being a good example of, I ate too much yesterday. I did not feel good. It wasn't worth it. I couldn't go out and do fun things for the rest of the afternoon because I felt so bad. So today, I'm gonna eat this first, cause it's really good for me and I wanna make sure that I get in, and then I'll just eat a little bit of this until I'm not hungry anymore, and that's all my body really needs. And I think that's, if they hear that a couple times and then they start thinking, I really did feel really crummy after eating way too much. Because I'm always surprised whenever I'm good about eating healthily again, it feels so good.
Yes.
But it's easy to forget when we're just eating ice cream after ice cream after ice cream, we think that's the best part. But really, the rest of the day is how I'm gonna feel from eating too much ice cream. And I can choose whether it's going to be feeling sluggish and gross for that 2 minutes of enjoyment of the ice cream, or if I can be active and enjoy the rest of my day because I just had a little bit, or none at all.
It's a new attitude
It is,
when you come here about eating.
yeah. And it's really impacted by those around you.
It's like life is kind of over, so I can drink as much as I want or eat much.
And that's kinda sad,
See?
that it's over. I don't think so. Well, thank you so much for the active participation and conversation. This was really fun.
Yeah, well, come again.
I will, thank you.
Do you have cards to give out?
I do. Would you like one?